RWP is brought to you by Porch Beer Entertainment.
I get nervous that they're gonna break my back because they're not doctors. So
yes, they are.
No, they're not. They're not professional doctors. They don't have medical license. Chiropractors are not licensed. They may be licensed for a chiropractor, but they're not. They don't have degrees. They don't have medical degrees. That's the whole thing. That's why people don't. That's why some people don't go to.
Like the guy I go to does have a medical degree.
He may have. I mean, maybe he went to medical school, but no chiropractor. That's like the whole thing. It's like they're not doctors. That's the only worry. But not saying they can't help people because clearly they can. But
What
I just
about
get nervous.
Like PT.
PT is. I think those are licensed physical therapists. Yeah, that's different.
How's that different than a licensed chiropractor?
Because when you go to like chiropractor school, you don't go to like a medical school.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, but
it's like a massage person, like a massage therapist. Like you're licensed in massage, but you're not a doctor. You know, like you went to massage school. Massage school's got to be great. Everybody's just massaging each other.
Yeah, because I had to get massages prescribed as part of my treatment plan, and they'll make insurance and stuff cover it. But when I was because they have one on staff there, and I was asking the dude, I was just like, I was like, so how was massage school? And he was just like, I mean, it was good. He's just like, you spend a lot of you do get a lot of free massages, just you practice over and over. But he's like, I just don't like doing it on my personal time. And I was just like, because he has a girlfriend. I was just like, has your girlfriend ask for massage and stuff? He's like, yeah, constantly. He's
if you're dating or married business to a massage therapist, it's like you gotta kind of
you gotta draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, but if I'm
work,
I know, it's
you
bringing your work home
and do more work. I don't know.
Yeah,
it'd be like if Abby were just like, hey, Ben, I decided to self-publish this book. You want to handle all the contracting and do all this stuff for me, pro bono? Yeah.
Well, that's different. That's time,
right?
a nice.
No. She wrote a whole book series.
But you love
constantly doing this.
But you're supposed to love the other person. So but yeah, I agree. I mean, I know what you're saying. I bet it's the same thing. If a professional chef comes home sometime from cooking all day. That's just
the same thing. Yeah. They're obviously going to cook for their family, but it's just the family shouldn't be can't wait for this Michelin-starred food from our home kitchen. It's no, it's a lot of work.
They do a PB&J, and they use one of those circular things and take the center cut out of it and
just
plate it and do little dots of the jelly on the plate or something like that.
Oh, how does my audio sound? I've got new headphones. I'm still looking for the plugin. Does it sound normal?
Sounds like headphones. I mean, it sounds fine.
I mean,
yeah.
Well, what does that mean?
it doesn't.
It sounds like headphones, which means it sounds like something.
No, it sounds good. I think it's good. It's good. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It'll be good.
Okay. Well, whatever.
But I will say for those who haven't checked out the cover of the new book here for this brand new book for our Bad Book Club. It's called Tempting the Titan. A Monster Light Spicy Romance by Fern Fraser. And I will say, I'm looking at the cover.
Say today, best. Yeah, I'm staring at the cover right now.
It is
so
something
fucking wild. It looks like a 3D rendered image. You know how
this is definitely AI generated, right? This can't be a real person can't have made.
When was this written? Is the real question.
I think recent. I think Tempting the Titan.
It's just and there's just. His giant nip is just staring at you.
Let's see. By the way, it is, if you have Kindle Unlimited, I believe it's free. The book came out, where is the release date? 2023.
Copyright 2023. Oh
yeah.
My God. This makes this so much worse.
And you can buy a paperback version for $10 if you are interested.
Save your money.
This is
Don't do it.
Fern Fraser. So Salty Dalton and I were looking at some different options for the book. We settled on this one for this this version of Bad Book Club, but we have some others in the works too that we're excited about.
I'm just checking my work phone intermittently.
Okay, no problem. But Tempting the Titan, I'll go through the blurb that they give us at the start before we dive into the book itself. We're going to be covering chapters 1 through 3 today, because these are longer chapters than we just got with whatever the hell that book was called, Curves and Cradles. These are a little bit longer, so we're just going to cover 3 chapters today. But here's the blurb, and it's another of our favorites, the alternating POVs.
I hate it so much. Much. There's no reason to do it this way.
They love it. Apparently, this is a genre thing. They love this thing. So for the first POV here in the blurb, this is like the intro before the book starts. It's from the perspective of Atlas, and Atlas says,
Celeste?
You'll read Celeste. The feisty little female I hired to work as a receptionist.
Little female? What is that even?
I hired to work as a receptionist in my detective agency is proving to be a delectable handful. Celeste is a temptress. She stirs long-forgotten desires with her delicious curves and sassy comebacks. But as tempting as she is, I need to remain professional, as opposed to everything you just said. Losing myself in her sweetness would unleash the monster slumbering within me, and when he comes out to play, he won't settle for anything less than possessing Celeste's body and soul.
Yes. Celeste. My heart belongs to a 7-foot, growly, monosyllabic detective. Atlas lives by strict rules and keeps his distance, but he can't conceal the fire in his eyes whenever his gaze meets mine. I'm crazy about him, but his fear of revealing his true self makes him a tough case to crack. If my cautious Titan is the prize, I'll work overtime to make him mine.
And it's Tempting the Titan. Is a heartwarming monster light romance. Try it if you love a blend of age gap, curvy girl, primal play, voyeuristic thrills, and irresistibly hot size difference. Oh, I don't love that whole sentence.
It says no cheating. So just up front, they're like, don't worry, no one cheats on each other. No cliffhangers, pure sizzling satisfaction.
Oh boy. So this is gonna get interesting here.
I swear to God, I have like almost all of chapter 2 and chapter 3 highlighted.
There's a lot to get into. It's going to get interesting here. So we're going to cover the first 3. I got the fantasy Rivertown music going here because that's what we're in this world. So this is going to be a little different because we are.
Is this going to play through the whole chapter, or is this just like?
I'm just playing it for now. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see
I'm just asking. You're the producer here.
I know. I got all the buttons. Chapter 1 is from Celeste's point of view. So we start the book with her point of view. She right off the bat gives us some backstory because she mentions that she's been traveling around a long time. She's been part of a traveling circus, and the town that she is in now is called Screaming Woods. So traveling circus. So right off the bat. We get a circus performer, always kind of usually a home for a lot of weirdos, some vagabonds, some some of the outskirts of society.
But
types.
It's modern times,
right?
So they have iMessage. Let's preface that up front.
Yes.
So they have iMessage. So like she's describing this town. She's just like, hey, there's apparently just bakeries on every corner. She said it's just everywhere. It smells like cookies.
Yes.
Flower shops, and she's like, and don't get me started on the bookstore. And she just like kind of briefly is like, I love books. I will read books for hours.
It smells great because there's flower shops, there's bakeries, and everything. This is Screaming Woods, and she's, I guess, wandering around.
It sounds like the name of a town where Freddy vs. Jason would play out.
Yeah, it does. It does give
Screaming Woods is the old abandoned camp that's run down.
Right. And then her phone beeps, and it's a text from her brother. So like you said, in this world that we're occupying right now, they do have phones with the ability to text. So her brother, whose name is Brody, He texts her and said, "What's the town like?" Here, well, actually, there's only one text back and forth right now, so we don't really need to go back and forth. He says, "What's the town like?" She says, "So far, so good." And so apparently it's a booming town. There's construction. There's
Yep.
she mentions
Bustling with
eateries
activity.
again. Yeah.
Yep.
And she said this
And
is
then,
the ideal spot to begin her new life.
but then randomly drops in like, I've heard rumors about creatures living in screaming woods. Like, I don't know if this is like a known thing. They don't really talk about it, but apparently everyone obviously looks at the town name and goes, "Oh, that's weird." Screaming woods, and then like I guess the people talk about monsters a lot there.
Yeah, we get some
But she's
backstory,
like,
I think, the next chapter or something like that. But
yeah, but she's just like, anyway, I haven't seen a monster yet.
right,
The estate
right.
where I live is full of regular people. What does that mean?
Also, estate seems like, isn't an
Did she
estate
buy a
like a
house?
pretty big piece of land? Because she talked about a moment ago how she wishes she had a lot of money so she could go buy all the books she wants and all the food she wants.
But
But
does
she
she live
doesn't.
on an estate? Is it a hostile situation? Does she have roommates? We don't know.
And she just got into the town, so I guess. So she
So
said the estate I
she
live
did
is.
buy a house.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
said, "This is my first day exploring the town." So I guess she's moved there to Screaming Woods, and she's walking around the town. She's been saving for a while, not a large amount, but my brother
But
and I
enough to buy an
inherited.
estate.
They inherited money from an insurance payout when our parents died in a car crash last year. So we get some, again, they're just throwing backstories at us. She was in a circus. Her parents are dead. They got money. Her and her brother got money. But apparently not that much because Brody spent his money on a
On a
motocross bike.
motocross bike.
And she spent her money
Okay.
on a home. So that doesn't. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't know if the motorbike money, and the home money are equivalent in our world.
Because I'm just thinking and I'm like, okay, motocross bike. You know what? I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
Google this
Google
real
it.
quick.
Oh yeah, so am
How
I.
expensive are motocross bikes? Um, 250cc bikes generally range between 8,000 and 10,000. You can get a little above 10,000. So
Wow, you
let's
can
just
buy
take
a
10.
motocross bike on Amazon. I can
Yes,
buy for
yeah, 1,500 bucks.
$2,300 for this one. Assembled in crate red. Wow. Okay, that's so. Just imagine Amazon Prime like next day shipping. You buy a freaking motocross bike,
So we know they got somewhere between 1,500 and $12,000.
which apparently is enough for her to buy a house,
An estate.
an estate. And so, but here's where we find out kind of how that happened, because clearly the author was like, all right, they're not gonna believe that she was able to have enough money to buy a home. So she tells us that when she was working at the circus, for some reason she met a salesman
I'm
who.
just envisioning like a guy in a dark coat being like, if you're looking for a place to
Yeah, are
live,
you looking for a house?
Screaming Woods is your home.
Yeah, he told her about an affordable housing development, and he
He
offered.
offered a
Yeah,
sign-on bonus, so she got money to stay there
right.
and
No
no
down payment.
tax for the first few years. Can they do that?
Yeah, this is not illegal. This is clearly not legal. Sign-on bonus, no down payment, extremely low interest rates, and no tax for the first few years. It's like,
So I don't know
where did
how
this
old
come
she
from?
is, but like if her parents were still alive until last year, obviously her parents are around. It's modern times. They text and talk, but it's like she just joined the circus, did the circus for a while, and then
Uh-huh.
just bought a home from a stranger with
Yes,
no strings attached
pretty
to move
much.
to a town called Screaming Woods. That's basically what we gather from this.
A town
Uh,
that she's heard rumors about monsters apparently living there.
and and
Um,
like how far widespread are these rumors? Like
I
it's
don't
just
know.
everyone like, oh, Screaming Woods, yeah, there's monsters for sure, monsters there.
You know
Never
what's a
seen them, but
real
there's monsters.
monster? These sales, and then
Yeah.
he sells her the house. Brody says, "Have you seen any monsters yet?" And she says, "Do you still believe in fairy tales, baby brother?" It's like, all right. I mean,
It's weird quips. Like it doesn't make sense. We know nothing about Brody, but just their text interchange is just like, "How's the new place? See any monsters?" Like it's not even know if it's a joke, but she sent him a laughing emoji.
and
She's
she's
26 years
26.
old.
Yeah. So there's another. I mean, so she's 26. Two dead parents in a car crash. And she owns a home now, and she used to be in the circus, and this is her first day in town. These are all facts that we're learning. The town, she's like thinking about like fairy. She says, if I've learned anything, then fairy tales are for children. But it's like, well, you just said that like you've heard rumors about monsters. So are you saying you don't believe in those rumors? Is that what
Yeah.
she's saying? I mean,
And then she just like goes, well, maybe it's built on an old nuclear waste site and authorities are keeping it quiet. I was like, well, you're the author. You tell us.
yeah,
Where did
yeah.
this town come from? Like,
Apparently, the
God.
townhouse that she bought is all she can
So
afford.
the estate is a
Yeah,
townhome,
right.
and she's house broke.
That she has,
So,
yeah, no tax free for years, no down payment.
and this
all
is
that stuff.
wild because she went and bought the house, and then she goes, "Now I need a job to help me pay the mortgage."
Good
And I was
idea.
like, "Oh, you just jumped all in, huh? You just bought the house and then was like, man, I hope I get a job."
Also, what I want to know is this house detail necessary to the book? Because couldn't the author just have said like so she's new in town, she got like a cheap apartment somewhere and now she needs to find a job. Like you hear about people doing that. Why did she have to spend all of her money on this townhouse? Is there a purpose to this? Is what we'll try to find
I don't
out.
understand because it's like they're really stressing the fact she needs a job.
She needs a job.
Could
Like, that's the only
she
important
could
piece
just-
of info.
She could just be like, I have a job interview at a
Yeah.
company. I moved to this new town. Like,
Yeah,
there's a better
that's
way
all it
to
has
say
to
it,
be.
but it's just really focusing on like, guys, she is house broke. Like all the dead parent money
Yeah.
to the
All
house, to the house,
All the dead money.
house broke. She's eating stale bread. She needs a job.
She's
and
texting
then
with Brody. She
I can be
mentioned she has an
Brody if you
interview.
want.
Yeah. She said, I need to dash, which is a weird thing. I mean, nobody talks like that. I have a job interview soon. It's going to rain, and I need to buy an umbrella.
I bet you look great. Don't mess up your outfit.
That's one. I mean, it's a nice thing to say. So I don't want to clown on Brody too much. Little weird, sibling wise, little weird, but not weird enough for me to really like absolutely shit on him.
Sure.
She says, my feet are killing me. I've been walking around checking out my new town for what feels like hours. I'm not used to wearing and then she tells us, I'm not used to wearing tight-fitting office clothes and high heels. So we already know now that apparently whatever she's wearing is very tight.
And he goes, I'm surprised you could wedge your flippers into shoes. So
Lil
huge
dig.
dunk from
Yeah,
Brody. And he adds a clown shoe gif or yeah. So
And then-
they throw gifs in here. Yeah.
I highlighted this next sentence here. Growing up in the circus, I hardly ever wore shoes, and I'm not used to squeezing myself into snug outfits. So first of all,
What do you mean? We don't even know what she did for the circus.
We have no
She's
idea what
like,
she did
I
in the
was just
circus.
in the circus. If she was an acrobat, okay. They still wear shoes.
They wear shoes
It's
in their
not like,
downtime. Yeah, I'm pretty
what
sure.
this is making me conjure an image of is like freaking like the Greatest Showman style, like 1913 traveling carnivals where
Right.
like they were living in crates, shantytown to shantytown.
Also, like, she grew up in the circus, so like,
She's like, well, I sold all my shoes for an iPhone.
I want to
use in
know,
the circus.
how did her parents die in a car crash? Was it because
They don't cover this at all so far.
were they in the circus too? Because she said she grew up in the circus, and their parents just died last year. So if they are all in the circus together, was it a circus accident, like on the way to the next gig, or like what? I want to know more.
Maybe they were in a separate circus, like they all just kind of join different circus groups.
I want to know. But
I
apparently,
I
she
just
never
don't know
wore
a lot
shoes.
about the circus industry now today.
I don't, and I don't think this author does either. So I don't think you have to worry too much. She says back to Brody, the clown act was more your thing than mine. How's
So
Millie?
she was the clown? That's how I read this.
No, Brody was a clown. She says she's
No,
saying
no.
to Brody, the clown
Oh.
act was more your thing than mine.
So her brother was a clown.
I
But
guess.
then she doesn't say what she was.
But then we learned that she had a circus pony that she cared for.
So Brody, I guess, is still in the circus
Yes,
because he has the
yes.
circus
I didn't even
pony.
notice.
So
that.
he's a clown that rides motocross bikes and is taking
Yeah.
care
Why does
of
he need a
horse.
motocross bike for the?
I don't know. I don't know.
And why do we know about this pony? What does this have to do with? It's on her phone because yeah, you're right. She says like, "How's Millie?" And he's like, "She's great, but she misses you." And she tells us, "Millie was one of the circus ponies I used to care for." So what was your job in the circus? Because you kind of
No clue.
need shoes if you're taking care of horses because they just poop all the time.
And worse, they'll step on your feet. I mean,
Stuff
it's
on
just
your feet.
I don't.
You
quite
can't really
understand.
ride a horse with no shoes on.
And then so she gets like sad about it. She's like, "Oh man, like my horse."
It's like
and
her
then
lock screen or whatever.
Brody's like, just randomly jumps back into the conversation. Just goes, "Hey, what are you gonna do if a monster chases you down the street?" It's like, okay. And she's like, I bet I'm still a faster runner than you. When are you going to visit me? And then,
The
here we go.
conversation is
Not
very
yet.
bad.
I'm training for the big motocross show. Not even a name for the show. Like, what big
Also,
motocross show?
If
It's in a couple months.
if the pony is in the circus show, is this motocross? I don't know that many circuses that have a motocross show as part of the circus. So either he's on
From
like
what I can
I
gather,
don't
is he's
understand.
trying to like get out of the circus industry. I don't know if he's locked in to a
Right.
long-term deal or something, but he's like, he's just like make it or break it. So he's like,
True, he
bought
needed the
this
bike,
motocross
and now he's
bike,
got the bike.
and he
Now he's
wants
kind
to
of
go.
handcuffed. He kind of has to do this.
Maybe he's trying to make a name for himself in the motocross industry, and get out of clownhood.
And the training, he's training for it, and it's in a couple of months. Make or break time, you know? So it's like, well, yeah, because like clearly he spent the only money he has on this bike. So it is kind of make or break. But then again, it's like, do you already still have a job in the circus? Because then it seems
Also,
like you could just go back to that.
another wild thing is, how did he get put into a motocross show? Is he good at
If he
motocross?
just
Is this
bought a
something he's
bike.
been doing his whole life? Or did he go, I'm going to buy this bike and I have a couple months to train to fly off jumps in a motocross show?
Well, also, so if the
I
parents
want
died
to hear
last
more
year,
about Brody's
I want to
story,
know
honestly.
so much about Brody. If the parents' accident was last year, it seems it probably took a little while for them to actually get the money, because
Sure, let's
all
call it
that
like
sort of stuff.
5-6 months.
Because she
settle down the
just bought
estate.
this house with it fairly recently, so you got to
Yes.
assume that he bought the bike like fairly
Instantly.
recently, and then
Yeah.
automatically gets placed into a motocross show. They're like,
That's what I'm saying. I
what's
don't
the
know anything
requirements?
about. What I know about motocross racing is you obviously work your way up,
Right.
like pro, semi-pro. Like you have to like win races, and that takes a long time.
Unless you were
Motocross
in the
shows where
circus,
they do
apparently.
the flips and stuff. I don't know if people have to submit a resume, but I feel like you can't just show up and be like, "Yeah, I'm here for the big show." Rev the bike and then just go
Yeah,
die on the jump.
apparently the only requirement is you have to have the bike, and they're like, "You have the bike, so I guess you're in the show. It's in 2 months, so make or break it." And she's like, "So exciting, you'll ace it." And he goes, "Back at you,
What does that
sis."
even mean? It's not a test.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the show is.
Is it a race? Is it like a trick show? I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. And then he's like, "You'll
and
nail the job interview once the boss meets you."
And then here's an interesting tidbit. She responds with, hopefully it's a phone interview. I'm visiting the office in person to see if I'm comfortable working in the area. So it's a phone interview, and her plan is to show up at the job site to
She already
have
bought the house.
phone,
She already bought
to
the
have
house.
the phone interview.
Comfortable working in the area. You bought a house. You kind of have to be
You're
comfortable.
gonna have
in
to
the
be
area.
comfortable. But also, if you're given a phone interview,
Yeah.
it's weird to show up at the office to be like, "Hi, I'm here for my phone interview."
Yeah.
What?
I'll just take this
What?
phone interview in the lobby.
I was hoping we could do it an in-person one. It's a phone interview. Yeah. I just figured I'd come by because I want to make sure I want to work here.
A phone interview is a pretty standard part of the process. You got to
Yeah.
think like, why she didn't need to like go. Yeah, she didn't need to go to the location for the. She could have done this from her new house.
It's weird that she wore the full-up interview outfit.
Yes.
It's one thing if she wants to go look at the building
Sure.
where she's going to work at, but
Yeah.
timing that up with the phone interview is really weird. So she's basically just gotten dressed to the nines to walk around what I envision a cobblestone bakery-filled town
Right.
in work clothes to take a phone interview.
Tight work clothes.
Tight one.
Which at the same time, it's like, did they really have to be tight? Because you're not actually like seeing anybody. Like in theory, you're not even have to. So like, why are you even wearing the work clothes?
I don't. It's unanswered, and it doesn't make any sense
Why
to
are
me.
you wearing the work clothes?
If in 2023, especially, if I showed up to a building
Yeah.
that I have a phone interview with,
Yeah,
and
the
when
police-
I'm here for the
police are being
phone
called.
interview,
Yeah.
am I just expecting them to hand me the phone and I
Yeah.
talk? Like I just don't.
Like, you
it's
can wait in the
weird.
bathroom. And he's like, you dressed up for a phone call? You're a good little Girl Scout. Kind of creepy. Kind of again, kind of
It
weird
makes me
vibes.
uncomfortable.
These are circus folk, you know. They're a little different.
Sure. And he puts what bothers me is you have to be familiar with what GIFs are,
Yes,
but like describing a GIF
Mhm.
in a verbal setting or a text setting is weird.
yes.
So you just have to understand. And so he puts a GIF from Legally Blonde in there, I guess, of her in her pink office suit.
She's in her pantsuit, and apparently that makes her mad because she's like, if we were
She's
face
like,
to
if we were
face, I'd
face to
punch him.
face. Deck him right in the face.
It's like what? Elle is a perfectly good,
it's a funny
business-looking
gift.
woman. Like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about?
If someone said that, yeah, like it just doesn't make any sense. But so she's like, man, now I miss that little rascal. And then I highlighted this part.
Yes.
She responds back. She's like, you know what? Talk later. I add a winking emoji and slip the phone into my bag. This is all in the
That's
message
in
block.
the text bubble.
So
Yeah.
I think that's an editing error where
Yes.
that was supposed to drop below. So just
It looks like she is
she
literally
just
texting him. I add a winking emoji. Like that's what.
and I slip my
Slip the
phone into my bag.
Love it. Love these types of books.
Yeah.
So she's heading down the street. She spots a small shop. So beyond the bakeries and the flower shop, she sees a shop that says "Spirits and Potions."
What kind of town is this?
It's Screaming Woods.
It's like it's described as a bustling metropolis. So
Yeah,
I'm trying to picture like modern buildings, and then this weird shack that just said "spirits and potions."
Yeah, and she looks in, and a woman with blue hair and a beaming smile emerges from behind a curtain at the back of the shop, and she goes, "Welcome to Spirits and Potions." She chirps, "Can I help you?"
Platform 3 and 4/4.
Yeah, it's very hot, Harry Potter like. And apparently, she lets us know that like she's always been interested in the supernatural, but I grew up in a circus and saw all the secrets behind the magic.
It's like
Also,
we don't even
circus
understand what this.
circus shows don't really incorporate magic. That's not
They
really
have they have like a magic
Oh, I guess there could
portion.
be yeah, I
But
guess
it's not the so like you don't go to the circus to
Yeah.
see the magic. The clowns will do magic and stuff. But like
Yeah.
you're really there to see like the lions, the tigers, the elephants, the balancing, the acrobats. Like it's a whole show.
Yeah, right. It's hard for me to believe there are genuinely.
She's acting like she's like I've seen a clown do magic before, and
Yeah.
I know exactly how it's done. So the secrets of the world don't interest me
Also,
anymore.
You just walked into a shop that says spirits and potions. Like that's not a normal type of store in any society. Like normal, if it's a quote unquote normal town, it doesn't have a spirits and potions store. So she's
And so keep in mind, she just said she's not interested in, or she's always been interested in the supernatural. The lady asked her, "Are you interested in the mystical, magical?" No, thanks. That's what she said. She's like, "Nope."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this gets weird.
I have that highlighted too.
Yeah, I'd like you to read what she says. So the woman's expression changes. So she says this is like yeah.
I'll ask you. I was like, "So are you interested in the mythical, magical?"
Well, no, I'm gonna let. Oh yeah. Sorry. No,
and then immediately.
So she says, "No, thanks. I'm only exploring." As if
all the color drains from her face.
Yeah.
She just stares off into the distance, not saying anything. Like, okay,
right.
What are you supposed to do with that? Then she says that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like in a trance, she goes, "The winds of change led you to this unfamiliar place. Destiny will ignite the fire within you and fulfill your soul's deepest desires."
Yeah. This is our first sign of
Weird.
Something being a little off in this town.
But her response is probably the most appropriate and something I would probably say immediately, where she goes, "Okay, thanks."
Yeah.
Yep. I nothing else you can say to that.
And then,
that was bizarre.
And then she says, like, "Well, my soul's deepest desire right now is to get a job so I can pay the mortgage for this house that I bought with all the money I have."
The house. Yeah.
So she like kind of retreats from the store. She's like, "No more wandering around like a tourist. It's time to find where my potential new job awaits." So she arrives at a brick office building with a sign that says North Star Detective Agency.
Love it.
And so she's standing on the corner. She's again smelling the coffee from nearby, all that sort of stuff. The moment kindles an image of me buying coffee on the way to work at North Star. So she's picturing the future here. And then the light rain begins to fall, and it's pitter pattering on the pavement. She tucks herself under an awning and like settles her nerves, and she dials the number of the building that she is right outside of.
For the phone interview.
Yes. North Star.
Great pro move. You should always take every phone interview on a busy street in a city.
Yes, especially when it's raining outside.
You want that background noise. You want the elements bearing down on you when you're trying to present
Especially being
a good.
underneath an awning, you want the raindrops just hammering on the awning right above your head. So a man answers a phone. He says, "North Star Detective Agency." He has an assertive tone, and that leaves no room for small talk or pleasantries. Where it's like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, he's just answering the phone for his business. I don't think, yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty normal way to answer the phone. And then she goes, "Hello, Celeste McRoth is her name, apparently.
MacRoth. It's a Scottish. MacRoth.
We have an interview scheduled," she says on the phone, which is like, okay. A tense silence envelops the line. The strength in her knees wanes. It's like, all right, I understand you're nervous for this interview. I understand that, but like, let's calm down a little bit. It's a phone interview that you're doing. Like, you're okay.
For a receptionist at a detective agency.
Yes, it's not like you're interviewing for like the CEO position for a Fortune 500. Like, this is a detective agency in a weird small town. And then so the guy recognizes it and he goes, "Oh yes, yeah, thanks for calling. I'm Atlas Everlast."
Atlas Everlast.
Atlas.
What a strong name.
And he says the owner, which is kind of a weird way to describe, like, because
not even just like head detective.
Yeah,
or something,
or like CEO or anything like that, because it's like he's the only person I believe that works for this company.
Yes.
So it's like, why are you saying the owner? It's like, I'm Atlas Everlast. This is my company, or something along those lines. Just kind of weird. I reviewed your resume, which I'd like to learn what her resume was, because again, she grew up in the circus.
And while your study credentials are impressive, what did she study? She's been in a circus her whole life.
She studied juggling 101.
Yeah.
She studied
like, what about that resume?
Circus
Just
LA.
like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. You were in a circus for a while. You went to Circus University. Yep, all this stuff. You went to the Magic Academy. That's good for a receptionist. And then he's like, "There's no references."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Can you tell me
he's
why?"
Like, all it says here is U of C. Is that Carolina? Is that California? No, it's Circus. University of Circus, actually, sir. that's what my that's what.
And so, like, it's the question. I mean, it's like no one really attaches references with their resumes anymore. They pretty much just go, "References are available upon request." And I think that's what every resume says. But I guess she just didn't provide any references. That's fine. And then so she's just like, "Well, I've been traveling the country. My paperwork got lost. I can provide phone numbers for verbal character references." And he's just like, "I see." I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, it seems weird that you saying your paperwork got lost,
because you literally
just be like I can provide you references. Yeah. Do you want the phone numbers? Because that's all she said. Like, that's perfectly fine.
Also, it's like we're living in a world here in this universe where you've got phones, you've got smart technology. Like, I'm sure she should have a digital version of her references.
Most companies are going to call anyway. They're going to be like, "Oh, did you give me 3 phone numbers of people I call," or they'll call your previous company and be like, "So how was she at the circus?"
Yeah.
"Oh, terrible." "Okay, thank you."
Yeah. She was really good at shoveling the elephant shit, I will say.
Yeah. Don't get me started on her brother.
But she never wore shoes.
His motocross bike.
She didn't wear shoes. That was the weirdest part. She's like, "I may not have direct experience working in an office like yours, but I've been working in one way or another my entire life. I'm a quick learner and adaptable to any situation." Which is like, no shit. You haven't worked in an office like this. You've been in a circus your entire life, as we've learned.
And right before that, she goes, "His opinion matters, but how can I spark his interest?" It's like, his opinion is pretty much the only thing that will get you the job. Like, there's no one else you have to, like, put on a good show for.
You're right. The way she wrote that, it's like, his opinion means something, but like, it's not everything. It's like, what do you mean?
Also, the more I think about her resume, the only thing on it just says circus. Years, whatever to whatever.
Yeah. And then he asks her, a pretty standard question: "Why do you want to work for North Star? What attracted you to this
her response to that is wild, where she's like, "The ad caught my attention. Although I want stability, I cannot settle for a monotonous and draining existence."
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I feel like it seems really deep for a part-time job, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally going to be
also
answering
receptionist.
phones.
Like, that seems pretty much run of the mill.
Pretty
for what
standard.
she applied for. Yeah.
I'm interested in the private investigation business. And then he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's a receptionist job. Like, it's not an investigator job. And he's apparently annoyed that it's like, you can still be a receptionist for a company and be interested in the things that
I
they
mean, a
do
lot
at
of
that
people,
company.
that's how they get in the door and get the experience. You were at the company as a
Right.
receptionist, you learn how stuff works, you applied for a slightly higher job, and then work your way up to
Like, you don't have to
CEO.
be
And
annoyed that she's like, I'm interested in this line of work. And he's like,
because
no, 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 no,
yeah,
no.
he's like, whoa,
Hold
whoa,
up.
listen, pump your brakes. I only need you to
Yeah,
answer the phone.
yeah. um,
Yeah, that's insane. She would need to be familiar with somewhat of detective office operations. It's weird that he's getting pissed about that.
yeah. And he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I'm not training anybody to be an investor. Because God forbid that he, like, part of her receptionist duties is like, hey, I will teach you a little bit about the business. And hey, maybe one day you'll be an investigator.
Also,
He's like,
much
no,
to
no,
the
no.
chiropractor discussion, PIs don't go to PI school. Like
It's true.
you could be a private investigator. I could be one
You could
today.
open one up
I,
right
I
now.
could I could literally open up a shop and be like, yeah, I'll investigate stuff. I might not be good, but I'll do it.
And apparently,
Um,
this makes her a little sad. She's like, got it. I appreciate your honesty, I say softly. Um, and the weight of my aspirations presses against my chest as my desire for this job increases with each passing moment. And then
she's just bottom line, she's desperate for a
she's
job.
desperate
It
for a job.
literally doesn't matter what it is
Again,
because
that
now she's
mortgage.
realizing like, well, I only applied for one job. I bought a house. This is the only interview I have lined
I've
up on
never
my
lived in this
plate.
town before, so I don't know anybody. I have no
I
connections.
don't know what the salary range that's being offered here, but like it's if she's this like desperate for it, it's got to be what she needs. Like,
Yeah, it has
but
to
it
be.
seems like it's enough money to make someone like freak out.
Yeah. Apparently, there's traffic,
Oh yeah.
which, again, as you said earlier, not the best idea to do a phone interview. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they tell you, like, if you're going to do a phone interview, like, find a nice, quiet place where you
Yep.
can, like, concentrate and,
Lock
like,
in.
have a
Mm-hmm.
good connection and all that sort of stuff. She asks him, what type of cases do you handle at this agency? I searched online but couldn't find anything. Which is like, all right, like, he's not going to exactly, like, post like here's all the things that we've solved like online, and he's like, I value privacy, and she's like, oh, of course. So this is clearly not going that well, but Atlas goes, mostly forensic accounting investigations. So this detective
So
agency
first
does
of all,
forensic accounting. So you're like an auditor? Like, I don't know what you mean.
that's what it is. It's money crimes in a
Yeah.
small town, because like he's not doing this for like on a grand scale. He's just like, yeah, no, I'm a PI. Yeah, I work
Yeah,
all
he's
the
acting
money.
all cool. It's like, what are
Yeah,
you
I make
talking about?
arrests. Yeah, bounty hunter. No, it's just yeah, I look at spreadsheets, figure out if
Yeah.
someone is doing tax evasion.
You know that
Because
potion
like,
shop down the street? Yeah.
why would you go to a PI for money
You
crimes?
wouldn't. You wouldn't. I mean, the
Because
only
what would they be able to do?
like what is accounting investigations? It's like, all right, I understand
It's
like the
auditing.
government. Yeah, exactly. Like, I understand like a government doing those services, but like, yeah, why is a random civilian going to be like checking your books? Like, couldn't you just be like, no? Like, you can't look at my books.
Exactly,
What are you
though.
talking-
He doesn't have a warrant.
I'm from North
Uh,
Star Detective
that
Agency. I'm
was
sure
such
you've heard of us.
a weird thing. Mostly forensic accounting and forensic accounting. Like, I don't. It's just so weird.
And then her response is pretty typical of like what we're saying. She's like, "Oh, no cheating spouses or inheritance disputes or stolen items." And he's like, "It's not a glamorous job. This isn't a TV show. Okay, this is real detective work here. Okay, I make
This
sure."
is day in, day out.
Yeah, you see that potion shop down the street? Guess what? They didn't pay their taxes 3 years ago. You want to know who found that out? This guy. This guy. And
Yeah,
you know what I did? I told the government, and they handled it from there. I had nothing else
yeah.
to do at that point.
Who paid me to do it? No one. I
Yeah,
just went out and did
nobody,
it.
nobody. I'm broke actually. Do you know where I can get a job?
Yeah.
She's like, wow, the weariness of his profession is seeping into his words. He's just like you said. It's like it's literally like
Wild assumptions.
this is a
And
guy.
first of all, it's a phone call. She's never
I
met
gotta
him,
hang
and
up
she's
my
just like,
badge
wow,
at some. I gotta hang up
yeah,
my badge at some. The job's getting to me. I mean,
he's cracking. Yeah, he can't handle it.
and she says, "I bet you have some fascinating stories to tell." And it's like, I bet he does not. Alice says like, "Oh, I keep to myself. I focus
Personally
on the
and
work."
professionally.
Hmm.
So maybe he doesn't have a lot of cases because he doesn't go out and get cases. I don't. It's such a weird interview.
Yep.
It's a very weird interview. And he's like, I prefer to operate behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, which is like, all right. I mean, again, this is your business, your company. I don't know what you mean by that. And she's like, that sounds intriguing, and smiles. And she's all excited. She's like, I've never met a private investigator before. It's like, all right, it's not that special. Or maybe it says, perhaps he's guarded because of an injury sustained on the job. It's like, oh, my hand cramped. Oh, my God.
Or just shot in the line of duty, working on the Excel sheet. Someone breaks in, shoots him.
Is that my W-2?
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't understand.
she says, or maybe he's one of the so-called monsters.
My partner died. I've never taken on a second one. It's like, well, how did he die? Heart attack.
Yeah.
He had a really, really bad diet.
Carpal tunnel was what did
Carpal tunnel took his life. Yeah.
So she does, again, even though she's told us earlier, like, I don't believe any of that crap. She's like, oh, maybe he's one of the so-called monsters. It's like,
What
right.
again? Like, first of all, they're just like, yeah, people have rumors about monsters in the town, and it's just like, okay, and you're having this phone interview, and you're just like, she's inventing this insane backstory for this
where did
man.
monsters come from in anything in this discussion? He's like, I keep to myself. I focus on financial crime. Like, it sounds like a pretty freaking boring job, to be honest. But it's starting to rain hard. The wind's blowing it around. Again, she has no umbrella, even though she told her brother she was going to buy an umbrella. She never did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to hear on the phone because apparently he's firing those questions at her, which is like, judging by earlier in the conversation, it didn't really seem like he was really firing a lot of questions. Seems like she was the one asking questions.
I sense he's testing my strength and loyalty.
Yeah.
No, I think he's just conducting a job interview.
This is an interview with somebody who's clearly underqualified for this job.
I'm going to start responding to emails that way when someone asks me questions. I'm just going to be like, are you testing my strength and loyalty?
My strength and my loyalty. He says, are you capable of following directives without questions? Which is also kind of like...
Also, it's not the military. You're a forensic accountant.
I'm pretty sure she can ask questions. She replies with the resolute yes. I live for clear boundaries after growing up the way I did. Just say yes.
We don't know how she grew up. We don't know how she grew up.
Yes.
All we know is she was in a circus, her parents died, and her brother is going into a motocross show.
Also, like, telling the person that's interviewing you, like, yeah, I had no boundaries growing up, none at all. Yeah. It's like
absolute loose cannon, a loose cannon.
He says, "Can I
trust
you?"
A low approving grunt. Yeah, he just goes.
Grunts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then to test her strength and loyalty, he says, "Can I trust you to keep certain information confidential?" She says, "Of course."
Also, are you scared of anything? Squeamish. What does that mean?
What is that? I've never been asked that at a job interview, I will say.
Also, and then she's like, also, the rain is, she's in a typhoon. So the streets are pouring with water. She is under the awning, but somehow soaking wet. The phone must be just soaking wet. So he's just hearing what I imagine the inside of a washing machine sounds like. She's just like, no,
I'm very loyal.
Yeah. And she's just like shivering. It's like, step inside. Go to the coffee shop.
At this point, he's got to be able to hear the rain on her line.
If he can't, I know he's not much of an investigator. Is he?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You know.
And then she says, "No, I don't scare easily." She's like, "It's true. I've seen it all, and nothing."
I don't think you. It just reminds me of
clowns on fire, horses breaking their legs.
It reminds me of like the Team America. Like I've seen it all. It's like, have you seen a man eat his own head? Yeah. No. Well, then I guess you haven't seen it all.
Right.
But also, what is she going to see in the line of duty for a receptionist of an audit agency?
Yeah, what do you need? And also the squeamish thing. It's like, what? He says, can you think on your feet? She said, yes. It's like, all right. Are you comfortable working alone and in silence? She goes, I prefer
it. I don't think
you worked at the circus. What do you mean? It's the loudest place on earth. And then he's becoming more friendly. She says, I have a knack for making friends. She's like patting herself on the back. She's like, this guy digs me. Like, I have a knack for making friends. And what matters most is he's happy with my answers and considers me for the job. And then the lightning flashes.
So I guess it's dark now. So she was walking around in daytime. Now it's dark and raining. Lightning flashes. she's looking at the building, right? Because she's taking the phone interview.
She's like
at the building.
She's not even in a phone booth. She's under like the awning of a strip mall or whatever.
And she sees a figure standing in the window on the phone, looking back at her.
Right.
So weird. And she goes, "Oh, an odd feeling of deja vu comes over me as I recall the blue-haired fortune teller's prediction," which I already forget.
I'm going back to
forget the prediction.
Here's the prediction.
Was like 20 minutes ago. That's not deja vu. What she should have been is like,
that's not deja vu at all.
Yeah.
If the blue-haired lady appeared and said the same thing, you'd be like, "Oh man, deja vu." Seeing a figure like up on the building is not the same as this lady saying, "The winds of change led you to this unfamiliar place. Destiny will ignite the fire within you and fulfill your soul's deepest desires." How is that deja vu?
And she goes, did she mean something more than a place to live? Because she was like, my only desire right now is to pay the bills, right? Stay in this town. But it's like, what the?
That has nothing to do with
what the lady said. She makes such wild leaps, and it's just insane. So that closes out the first chapter.
Chapter 2, we get
pretty
to go
wild.
From Atlas's perspective. I've got a lot highlighted right here.
Do you see this?
Yes, I have it all too. That's so funny. So this is Atlas's perspective, and he starts us off.
I'm about to pop off on this chapter.
This is probably the best part of the book so far. Is this chapter here? So we get Atlas's perspective, and he starts us off with, "You think monsters don't exist? They do in Screaming Woods."
Yeah, I didn't get that from the title of the town. Yeah. If I were to pick a place with monsters, it wouldn't be Reston, Virginia. And now, it would probably be Screaming Woods, Idaho.
And now we get what is an example of a writer that doesn't write fantasy, writing fantasy. Because she tells us...
It's a writer who wanted to give the bare minimum half-ass explanation to be able to get to the romance section. You're absolutely correct. This is the worst thing I've ever read. I would like
us to go back and forth. We'll go paragraph by paragraph, and we'll go back and forth. Okay. We'll get the music going again.
Okay.
Formerly known as Stream in the Woods.
Okay.
Cool. They were like Stream in the Woods, screaming woods, stream in the woods, screaming. It's all connected. It all makes sense.
I didn't think you could just change a town name that easily.
Yeah.
Okay. I imagine there's a lot of paperwork because like taxes, living stuff, addresses. I feel like you can't just one day be like, it's now Screaming Woods. Sorry, guys, deal with it. I'm the mayor. It's Screaming Woods now.
Yeah, it's now Stream in the Woods. They're like, did you say Screaming Woods? No, I said Stream in the Woods.
As they're filing the book.
Pretty sure he said Screaming Woods. He's like, why would I say Screaming Woods?
Because they were taking that phone call outside in a rainstorm.
Right,
so some of it got,
It was an idyllic place to raise a family until an accident at a Halloween gathering many years ago shattered the town's serenity.
This is now the plot to fucking, what is it? Halloween.
Halloween Town?
Literally Halloween. It's like,
Halloween
yeah. Ever since all those kids died on Halloween, Halloween.
Yeah.
How many movies are named Halloween? What's the one
There's
with?
A lot.
The one with Mike Myers is also Halloween, right?
Yeah, that's Halloween. Yeah.
Halloween, Nightmare Before Christmas. This is just
Stream in the Woods. The name of the town is Streaming Woods. No, it's Screaming Woods.
But it's like you couldn't think of anything else of an accident on a certain day. You could just be like, until an incident many years ago shattered an incident on Halloween.
It's on Halloween.
We get it. Monsters, Halloween, whatever. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Let's go.
Go ahead.
So the mishap occurred due to a mix-up of ingredients used by Dr. Karloff. Who the fuck is Dr. Karloff? To create Frankenpunch. Okay, so it's a doctor making a drink for a Halloween party is what I gather. He mistakenly used Amanus semper, always monstrous in parentheses. So I guess these are known fucking genetic things.
Yep.
Instead of
normal.
Felix semper, always happy.
So classic mix-up.
These two ingredients, which probably shouldn't go in punch, I can't even I can't even understand the fact that
The
he's
name of the
looking at
towns is an understandable mistake. These two things don't sound anything alike
was
at
the
all.
whole town at this Halloween party, or is he just making Frankenpunch in a laboratory for
You know what I'm
Halloween?
excited for the party this year? Dr. Karloff's Frankenpunch. Because I'll tell you, if there's one thing I love, it always makes me really, really happy. Really horny, but really, really happy. And we all are going to drink it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to drink it, you're going to drink it.
In this situation, the doctor is staring down the barrel of these two vials. One has like a skull and potions on it, and the other has like the ingredients for Xanax.
Yeah, smiley face.
And he just goes like, huh. All right, and he pours the wrong one in, and then all it says.
I sure hope I don't put the monster one in here, because then everybody turns into monsters. It would be a big mistake. I want the one that everybody's happy about, but I'm pretty sure I have the right one.
and then everyone who drank it turned into monsters. No explanation of what monsters. And my note here is like, this is the most half-assed reason and zero backstory. I said,
and that's it.
What are these drugs? You can't just throw drug names out there or like elixirs, and people are just kind of like, oh, that one's supposed to make you happy. That one turns you into monsters.
And I think you got to understand, people, that's the only explanation. Like, that ends the explanation of where the incident
happened. And I was like, and so I said, what do you mean they just turn people into monsters? Like, is this just?
What is a monster?
Oh yeah, it's a classic mix-up. This weird doctor turned everyone into monsters on Halloween. You've heard it 1,000 times.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm pretty sure that happened a town over too.
And then it's done. And then the author stops everything about this.
You know that time, you know how like these town parties are where like we let the doctor who has a lot of different potions, some of them a little dangerous, we let him deal with the punch. He usually puts in a little bit of extra stuff, makes us all go a little crazy.
Like, in my mind, I was just like, what you should be deciding to add to Frankenpunch is like, oh, do I put the special ingredient vodka, or do we leave it non-alcoholic? I'm putting genetic monster DNA in this punch.
I think, and also it's like you got to do a better job labeling Dr. Karloff. Like, I mean, if you were a professional,
they're like the two ingredients that they're just tossing around end in semper, which is like Latin for always. I get it. Amanus and Felix. But like, how are you not reading the vials? And like, who is this doctor? Where's his degree from?
And how many people are drinking the punch? Like, it's.
I would love. Does Dr. Karloff come up again? Because he's the villain in this origin story.
He should be arrested because he turned a lot of the town.
He should be murdered. But yeah, so they just stopped, like you said, nothing else. And then he just jumps right in and goes, well, the community accepts monsters. Well, they probably have to if the entire town is monsters.
Yeah. Says, while the community accepts monsters, I missed many opportunities growing up because I guess he drank some of this, which he didn't even tell us that, but apparently he did. And apparently some of the opportunities he missed because he's a monster is to play competitive sports and law enforcement. But unfortunately, those options were not available to monsters. They're like, look, I'll be honest.
Said weird line to draw here. I put weird line to draw. Like, okay, your whole town's monsters. You also live, I guess, in the overall, so they have to blend into normal society. The weird line they draw is like, you are not allowed to do competitive sports because if you have 4 arms, you're going to have an advantage. And the weird line is just like, no law enforcement. Sorry, man. You're a liability to the force. Turn in your gun into your badge.
They're like, look, man, I mean, the rest of the team are 12-year-old boys. You are a werewolf. So, like, we're not going to let you play with. We're not going to let you sign up for T-ball this year.
This is like a Remember the Titans discrimination-esque like small town story.
Yeah, where's the picket? Where are the picket lines and stuff? Like, what? Let us in.
Insane. But he's just like, yeah, the community's been great because most of the town's monsters, but now we have normal people here. Right. Everyone's accepting. But like the thing everyone knows is I'm not allowed to have a weapon and I can't play sports.
I can't play basketball. And his best friend, apparently Knox, was sick the night of the Halloween party, so he didn't come out that night. He was sick.
And this is where you find out it was a Halloween party. So it must have been a huge Halloween party where this doctor was making a delicious punch that you couldn't just buy down the street or get the local fraternity house to make.
Yep. And then Knox was sick, so he didn't show up to the party, so he didn't drink the punch, and he got to join the FBI.
Turn into a monster. Yep. And he says, but he never left me. You know, he was a good dude. And then this part, which I don't know if the FBI is aware of, is we work together solving complex crimes. he can't handle loans. So is it forensic accounting, or is he doing some criminal minds behavior shit wearing the bulletproof jacket? So he's doing these unofficial assists on national investigations. And he takes care of the bureaucracy and I investigate. And we keep our collaboration a secret.
Couldn't he just be like a consultant or like, like why does this have to be like under the table?
The only people that know he's a monster is, I guess, this town. So if he could be hired out. North Star Detectives Agency, LLC. I'm going to go hire consultants.
He could be a contractor, a government contractor.
Could pay him for this. They don't have to give him a gun and a badge. So he's just like, he's got this weird thing worked out where he's putting his best friend's job in jeopardy by being like, you handle the red tape and I'll investigate this crime for you. Can I get those classified files?
I'll just eat all the suspects. You know?
Yeah, and my note here, we also don't even know what monster he is yet.
Yeah.
And my note on this particular paragraph is, what the fuck is the storyline? But I said this already sounds better than the book. How about you do a spin-off series of monster detective and FBI guy?
Agent. Yeah, this sounds great. Teaming up
sounds like
to solve all
great thing.
He handles the red tape. I handle the dinner plans. Like, what do you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He takes care of the paperwork, and I kill everyone in sight.
Yeah, because I'm a monster. He was homesick on Halloween, so he's not a monster.
I can't get over it. It's just everyone drank a punch bowl at a Halloween, and they turned into monsters.
That they also they drank out of the punch bowl. That like the doctor in town, who apparently has the capability of turning everybody into monsters, they're like, we trust him. He's not going to screw it up this year.
It's just the fact that they know that this elixir turns people into monsters. It was like, where's the understanding backstory of that? Is that blackballed? Is it like a secret ingredient? Does the government know about this? Right. And why does this man have access to it?
Well, you'd think the FBI would be looking into this.
Who is Dr. Karloff? Anyway, and then he just goes, I make a great living. It's comfortable.
As a
financial
crimes detective.
He said the more people that move to Screaming Woods, the more my services have increased. So is he specifically a monster detective for other monsters, and he's just calling it forensic accounting? I'm
thinking that he lied about the type of work he does to the candidate. I bet he does some other stuff. Because he can't just be like, all these new people coming to town means a lot more forensic, financial crimes coming up. It's like,
I think why
does that mean that?
I think it's more of like children have gone missing for the last 4 days. Yeah. We think it's a monster, and then he goes investigates.
It's his neighbor. So he's like, I'm trying to find.
I guarantee you up front. I'm just going to make a wild guess, not have read anything past chapter 3. They will never actually work a case.
No.
We will never hear about.
He's going to have sex. I bet. I bet they have sex.
I bet you they're never actually going to do a case that requires detective work.
I'm going to predict that they bang on her desk or his desk.
I'm going to predict that we don't hear about his buddy in the FBI.
Nope.
Or Dr. Karloff.
Nope.
Or any. I bet you they don't even mention another monster type.
Are we going to meet another monster? That's what I want to know. Yeah.
I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think the half-ass, like, by the way, everyone's monsters. Everyone loves them. It's fine. Now back to the story.
No. Now they're going to have sex.
It's just middle fingers from the author to the reader over and over again.
So he's like, I've been advertising this role for months, but I haven't received any responses.
Oh, please tell me you have that paragraph highlighted.
Oh, which one?
Dude, keep reading.
Okay. Well, Celeste is the only applicant. I believe she's the most suitable. Okay. She's also just the only one.
That's so justified. Yeah. It's your only applicant. And he's just like, she's the best one for the job. It's been open for a while. It's our only hit. I believe she's going to work out.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. So we've been only talking for a few minutes, but I'm drawn to her and enjoy her softly spoken confidence. She poses pointed questions and delivers biting quips.
She has not asked any questions or given anybody.
She asked him, what type of cases do you guys do? Like, how is that?
And he's like, damn, she's sharp. Yeah. It's like, well, sorry, you have to answer to what your business does. This is an interview.
Quips.
She hasn't given any but I know that you do, or like some give and take. There's nothing. She's just been like, yes, no, I like boundaries.
So he goes over to the window to close it because it's starting to rain. It's funny. You think like if she's like right downstairs, he would hear like, oh, that's weird. I hear a voice outside that's coming through the same time as my phone. So he tucks his phone between his ear and shoulder, and he's trying to pull on the window, and he's like, sorry, one
It's
sec.
the sash. Is the sash the... I'm envisioning you pull the blind shut is what this is, because I don't think the window's actually open. I think he's like pulling the blind shut. and they get stuck.
Yeah, it gets stuck, and then the lightning flash, and then he
This
sees
is the lightning flash.
a woman on the street below, staring straight at me, and then he's like, "Where are you calling from?" And she's like, "I'm outside the office." And he's like, "Damn, it's Celeste." So she's drenched, obviously. He's like, "Come on inside. We'll finish the interview." And this has now moved into an in-person interview from the phone
And he's
interview.
like, she's desperately in need of shelter. I was like, at any point she could have walked into shelter.
Easily. She could have been like,
I,
"Hey, can you give me a sec? It's starting to rain. I'm going to hop into the store for a second. I'll take the call from in here." She could have done any of those things.
yeah.
She goes into the lobby. He's watching her through the security camera. A little strange to be
Yeah.
just like watching her every movement there.
She's leaving puddles everywhere.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just a mess.
gross. And then now we get a chance to roll out my favorite component of the Bad Book Club, and that's the cringe
Yes.
cowbell.
Yep.
As we
Lay
get
it on us.
a description of her body. I take in every detail of her delicate yet purposeful movements as she gracefully removes her soggy coat and tucks it under her arm. She's so much smaller than me. Her body is full and voluptuous, with generous breasts, wide hips, and solid thighs. I love it. I love it. What do you mean by
I
it?
just wrote. My only note on that was, what does this even mean? I struggle so much with the descriptions of like trying to build out the body proportion. She's tiny but huge in all the right places. It's like
Also,
this is curves and cradles all over again.
what is this description? Solid thighs. What is
Solid,
what does
thick,
that
like
mean?
oak trees, baby.
And I like
I
the
don't
use
know.
of generous breasts is an interesting description there.
Like
Look, they're really nice. Okay, they are.
they're generous.
They're kind. They're not
they're
afraid
giving.
to like help you out when your car gets a flat tire. They're
And
pretty
then
generous breasts.
yeah, and so he's like, yeah, her clothes are like stuck to her skin. He sees her body. He's getting excited
I
about
like how
it.
he says, "I'll need to protect her if she doesn't know how to shelter from the rain." He's like, she
And
may be
so
a
like
bit of a moron, and she doesn't understand that when it's raining, she may get wet.
my comment here was I said, you mean like what? I said she's obviously capable of wearing a raincoat. We're not standing in the rain. You don't seem like a smart detective.
She's not
Like
a
he's just
newborn
looking at her
baby.
being like, she knows nothing about this world.
Yeah.
I have to shelter her from the rain.
But
Oh
apparently,
my God.
she awakens sensations that he has not felt in a long time. Dangerous desires.
Desires. Yeah.
And then again, he's
oh
looking at
God.
that bod.
Cringe cowbell.
Yeah,
Cringe
that's a
cowbell.
cringe cowbell. He's
Because
loving
he-
that bod there.
He says, I drink in every soft, curvaceous inch, unable to tear my gaze away. And then just goes, fuck. I haven't been sexually intimate with a woman in how long?
I'd like to know
Um,
how long.
and
Because
and I
it's
said,
like he's a monster.
also, this is your coworker now.
Yep.
Probably shouldn't be having these types of thoughts in a work environment.
Especially not a candidate that you're interviewing for the position as well. It's
Mhm.
like you're in a position of
HR
power,
nightmare.
sir.
You may be a monster, but you can still be taken to court for sexual harassment.
Absolutely.
I think that's an
Apparently-
important message all of us should take away from
So
this.
we learn that apparently the trigger for his transformation, I guess, to a monster could be anything: sexual, physical, or emotional. But when the transformation begins, it's impossible to resist.
I just love how he's just like, it's dangerous. And he follows up with, to live among humans,
Oh, I love
just
this.
wear a giant brace on my body that exerts pressure on my muscles, keeping them restrained. But then he's like, but the trigger is literally anything. I could stub my toe or I could watch a sad movie and I Hulk out.
I also, what type of brace could literally cover his entire body?
I'm just imagining like an O lineman's knee brace, but on every part of your body.
He's literally got it up on the biceps, both legs. Like, is it on his back? Like, I don't.
And this is where we find out the only type of monster that's been
Yes.
introduced so far, which is a Titan.
A Titan.
And when I think of Titan, I think of like Hercules, Titan,
Yeah.
like Greek mythology, where it's like strong gods type of stuff.
Right.
So he's just like the coolest one you could be, I guess. And so he's just like, the brace is essential to hiding my immense power as a Titan, but he's also like 7 foot tall.
Also, he's telling us about this brace, and then he says, I'm not wearing the brace. He says, I wasn't expecting to meet with Celeste today.
He's like, well, first of all, he's like, the brace is the only thing that keeps me in check. Anything can set it off.
But I never wear
didn't wear it, and I don't wear it. And so I was just like, yeah, what did I write on here? I said, this doesn't mean you haven't stepped outside or stubbed your toe. So like he's just been wandering around the day, just
I guess he just doesn't have it on. He only has it on, I guess, maybe when he goes like outside. I don't know. And he's like, oh man, she's coming up the stairs. I'm not wearing my brace.
He just dips out. He just he leaves. He goes to his apartment, which conveniently is upstairs. Yeah. And he's like, I'm such a jerk for running out on her. But the fear of rejection looms in the back of my mind. What is she rejecting? I mean, if he hulks out in the office, I don't understand. He's supposed to reject her or approve her for the job interview.
Yeah, the interview is kind of out the window right now.
He's also got security cameras in his apartment, so he's watching his office, which watches the office.
Yes. And so he takes off his casual clothes, and then he puts on his harness, which I assume must be an easy process. And he throws on his suit pants, shirt, and jacket, and then knocks over a vase.
Heavy ceramic vase.
Which like falls over, and it apparently doesn't shatter, but it makes a loud noise. And so she's like, hello? Because she expected to come up and meet a business professional, and she comes up, nobody's there, and she hears the crash of a vase.
A thunk from upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he describes her eyes, which I guess his cameras are really, really good because he's just like watching her from all angles. She's looking around. She's looking at his collection of decorative walking canes. Is he injured?
He's a titan. Why does he need a walking cane?
What does he need a walking cane for?
He's like just short of a god. Like what?
He's 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
And of course he has a large mahogany desk.
Of course. I'm sure we'll be featuring that desk at some point during this book.
I bet we will.
She's just like wandering around the room, basically. She's like looking around.
And she talks. First of all, she talks about her love of books.
Right.
And then she continues to search the room. She skips past all the bookshelves full of antiquated books, which she could spend hours reading, and then just starts digging into his personal shit.
Right.
Looking at papers all over his desk. You're hiring a receptionist for a detective agency. We now know that he might have classified documents from FBI cases scattered across his desk. And she's just like, well, he's not here. I guess I'll poke around.
Yeah. I guess
on the phone or not, I can't tell.
Well, apparently not, because then he texts her phone. And it says, pick up the office phone is what he texts her. And then apparently he has an old-fashioned rotary phone on his desk, which is okay. And so he calls his desk phone, and she's like, hello, Mr. Everlast? And he's like, welcome, is what he says. Kind of creepy.
Welcome to the underworld.
She glances behind her at the door. She's like, am I in the right place? He's like, you are. Please make yourself comfortable. Again, this interview is getting very strange.
It started as a phone interview in the weirdest way. He invites her inside and then runs upstairs to call her again to complete the interview.
Yep.
So
not a lot here. It's like she sits down. He's like, do you feel better? Because she's inside now. She's like, yes.
He keeps talking about her clothes. He's just like,
he loves
her
noticing
blouse
her
is popping, all this sort of stuff, and like whatever. And then, oh my God. Yeah. I think this comes up later.
Well, she's like, he's like, good. Now we can continue the interview. Do you have any questions for me?
What is a trilby hat?
I don't know.
So, and this is where I think, and this is a spoiler, I think it's in the next chapter. I'm pretty sure he wears a fedora just all the time.
I think that's what it is.
So she asked him specifically, and it's weird. She could just be like, read the guy in the window. She goes, were you standing in the window wearing the fedora? And he just goes, so many questions.
Yeah, he's like,
it's one question.
He's like, do you have any questions?
It's a single question.
He says, do you have any questions for me? She's like, yeah, was that you in the window staring at me?
And he's just like, whoa, that's way too many questions. Whoa, calm down.
Says, yes, that was me, but something came up and I had to leave. It's like, what? This is all within the span of like 5 minutes of like him noticing her noticing him.
He left. He's like, something came up, I had to leave. And she's like, when are you coming back? And he just goes, I'm working from home for a while. No, like he's just gone. So he let her into his building, unlocked and everything, and he just gone. He's just like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll be back. Maybe I won't.
Also, working from home, he went upstairs. Are you a private investigator because you're a secretive person? And he says, I never thought of it that way. It's like, what do you mean you never thought about it that way? Like, you're clearly an extremely secretive person.
You have to wear a brace to be near people.
Full body brace.
Oh my
she's
God.
like, I didn't mean to pry. He's like, oh, it's fine. She goes, sorry, boss. And then there's a little sass in her voice. And he's like, oh, my muscles.
And also, I think this is just her way of being like, oh, there's my biting quip. Like, I've already got this job now because he's brought me into an abandoned building and has called me from a separate location.
She says, I've already decided to hire her. And he's like, and then he asks, I mean, this is like, it's like, all right, this interview is one of the strangest ones in the world.
And then he just keeps like interviewing her and then goes, it's time to put her out of her misery because he's hiring her.
Yeah.
And he basically just goes like, hey, if you follow the rules, like whatever, it's your job. And she's like, cool. So he gives her start hours and then goes, lock up when you leave, please. Yeah. So she's got the job now. She's in an office she's never been in, and now she's responsible for locking the office and leaving.
Lock it up because we have a lot of confidential information in it.
Because it's not like he could just come downstairs when she leaves and lock everything up.
And then this next exchange is like, okay. She's like, because he's like, yeah, lock up when you leave. And she's like, thank you. Would you prefer your messages to be delivered via email or a messaging platform? It's like, did she turn into a robot? Like, what do you mean?
She turned into a menu robot when you call a helpline.
Good question.
For email a callback number, please press 1.
And then he just gives like it's like, why are they even having this exchange? Because then he's just like, email works best for general communication, but you have my number and can message me for anything urgent. It's like, okay. And then she's like, thank you, Mr.
That
Everlast.
sounded like an email. He said an email out loud.
He literally did. He's like, call me Atlas. She's like, you won't regret this, Atlas. It's like, whoa, who said anything about like him regretting it? Like, that's such a weird thing to say. Like, when you get hired for a company, do you go, you won't regret this? It's like, now you're making me think I might regret this at some point.
Interview, it's like, thanks for hiring me despite my criminal background in the circus. What? Yeah. What? It's too late. I already signed the paperwork. And then he goes, the sound of my name on her tongue sets me on fire. Well, why did you tell her to call you that?
Oh, I'll regret it, but for entirely different reasons.
And like, do you call your boss by his first name?
Yeah, I don't say Mr. Boss. Yeah.
But like, so like, and it's like when we, some of my direct leads and stuff like that, like now, like I've been in the program that I'm on for 9 years. So I can pretty much after, if you're doing email and stuff, you say like Mr. that, if they're like big ranking guys, I say General what or Mr. But now that like I've met and been around my new Lieutenant Colonel, and now I just call him Tim.
Yeah. Because that's like normal.
Which is, so it's like a normal thing, but like just right off the start, it would kind of be weird to just be like, I don't know. It just seems weird to me. Just immediately, as soon as you get the job, be like, no, you can just call me just call me Joe.
Yeah, call me Atlas.
Yeah.
And then we get into the last chapter here for this section we'll be doing today. Chapter 3, we go back to Celeste's POV. Their conversation ends or is suddenly interrupted by upstairs because again he is in his apartment upstairs above her, and she hears these chair legs scraping above her, and then a thud, and a click and a bang of a door closing. So she's clearly like, I'm pretty sure he's upstairs right now. And she says, did Atlas lie to me? Is he upstairs? It's like, yeah.
Oh, good detective work.
Did you watch him walk out of the building as you went into the building? Because if you didn't, then he's probably still in the building.
There's got to be a way, yeah. Unless there's a back entrance, but he was in the window 30 seconds before you walked in, and now he's gone.
And then she's like, so she's still on the phone.
I like how she goes, did he lie to me? It's like, no, he was in his house. He's working from home.
He did say he's working from home. He did say that. And then like, I like how, so she's still talking to him, I guess. And she's like, wait a minute, I hear something. Sounds like someone's outside. Let me go and check. She's like, she's taking charge here. And then, although I'm not supposed to be an investigator, and then again, I have to tap into my inner Girl Scout instincts. I don't think Girl Scouts go investigate strange noises in a building. Trying to find out where a noise came from doesn't make you an investigator, I guess, because then it's like you could say that about anything. Like like you.
Sometimes I hear something dropped upstairs, and I walk upstairs, and Lily's toy fell off the fridge.
Yeah, you're an investigator now.
I'm now qualified to lead an FBI investigation from the shadows.
So she heads to the hallway and the staircase. She's like, "Hello," and it's dark. And she's like, "Although I don't see anything, can't shake the feeling that someone's watching me."
So she went back into the lobby, and it's like, are there no lights on in this building?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
Maybe
already
'cause of the
dark and
rain?
rainy outside. Yeah.
Let's see. So
And then this is pretty wild. Like, she goes back inside, I guess,
the office, I guess.
and she says the entire floor is vibrating with slow, deliberate footsteps. So, like, I get it. He's like concealing his powers from humans. But if he's a 7-foot tall dude wearing a giant brace, and if his steps shake the building,
I think
it's weird.
Yeah. I also like. Wouldn't she have heard him like rush upstairs before she walked into the building?
Is it an earthquake?
So she spins around, and there he is, a towering giant, 7 feet tall, and he looks like he's carved of stone. I sweep his tall, suited form from top to bottom. So she's like, she has to look pretty high up, and she sees his bulging muscles, which threaten to burst the seams of his impeccably tailored suit. It's like, no, that's just the brace he's wearing over the muscles.
But also, like, impeccably tailored. Like, he got it tailored as close to his muscles as humanly possible. Like, he couldn't have just gotten an extra large baggy suit.
Also, he's wearing a brace. So, like, did he have to go to the tailor while, like, wearing the brace and be like, hey, you're going to have to...
But it was probably a monster tailor. It was probably... Maybe it was Dr. Karloff.
Right. Karloff, yeah.
Yeah, hey, Karloff, you mind fixing my weird body that you made with this Halloween punch?
He's apparently wearing all black, so he's blending in because apparently there's just no lights on here.
He's blending in yet standing out because she's like, I instantly saw a 7-foot giant.
Every piece of detail I saw on his body.
Yeah, but he's invisible in the dark.
She's like, Atlas?
Yeah.
He's got a chiseled jaw, olive skin. It's making her heart beat a little bit faster, and
a tightness grips her lower belly, not her upper belly.
She's gonna.
So we're moving close to the ovaries. Yeah. His anxiety is palpable, so he looks anxious. Like, he's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, I like how this is very like Disney movie, like Hunchback of Notre Dame or something.
Yeah, because he's just like, you're not scared of me of how I look. How you were described was a 7-foot tall model with huge muscles.
Yeah, you sound fantastic. I mean,
it's not like, is the brace visible from the outside? Like,
but he's got his hat on. He's got his because the brim of his hat casts a shadow.
The brim of his fedora. Yeah. Well, hello, madam.
Yeah, I just
feel like it's a weird choice.
It's because he's a detective. He has to wear the fedora.
Fedoras?
Yeah,
is that where it came from?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's just so cringy.
The old PIs. So she's like, no, why would I be scared? Because you're bigger than most people. Like,
which is normal. They see, because like, I don't know how he views himself, but it's like, to the untrained eye, he's a 7-foot tall model, right?
Also, like 7 feet, like, look,
it's tall,
obviously
but it's not
tall.
like a 12 feet,
right?
Know?
Like, if you ran into a 7-foot person, like, sure, you'd be like, holy crap, that guy's tall.
You'd be like,
but you're not going to be like, he's a monster.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah, just otherwise the NBA would be terrifying for so many people.
I mean, if she had just said like he was like 8 feet tall, then I'd be like, oh,
8 feet would be a little bit more like, whoa, 8 feet and muscular, not like Slender Man, lanky.
Because there are human beings that are 7 feet tall. So why is that like a detail of his that it's like, he's a monster, trust me, he's 7 feet tall. It's like, oh, but there are people that are 7 feet tall though.
And then she goes, his appearance doesn't intimidate or repulse me because I see beyond societal expectations and norms. What? He's just tall and muscular and right beautiful. Now. Why are you somehow a social justice warrior by being like, I saw through the good looks in the tall man.
Everybody's the same height to me, okay? I don't see height.
I'm height blind, okay? Yeah. I'm height blind. All heights are equal. All heights matter. Like, what do you do? What is that? You don't even need to say that. It's just, it's a tall dude. That's all we know.
Her next sentence is a little creepy. She's like, to me, he's simply unique, extraordinary. It's like his skin catches the light and it glimmers. It's like, that's very weird.
Is this Twilight? Is this Twilight? Because this is what because first of all, one time we should actually sit down and do a podcast review of the Twilight series because it's one of my favorites. I watch it all the time.
Absolutely.
But like the huge cop out in Twilight is like, oh my god, they're vampires, live forever, super strength, all this stuff. Normally, per normal legend, right? Sunlight, dead.
Dead.
Sunlight for them makes them glitter and shine like diamonds, and they become beautiful. And so it's like, this guy, here we go now. Maybe this is why he doesn't go in public, because he steps outside and his skin is bedazzled.
Yeah, he looks fantastic. And he's like, I wasn't expecting us to meet, and I didn't want to shock you. And she's like, your skin glows. What are you? She's just like,
Are the rumors true?
Yeah.
Human and something else.
Something else.
What a weird thing to get. Yeah. And again, we hope we're going to get a little bit of how this happened. It didn't. He
comes closer.
They just look at each other.
Her eyes line up with his chest. She has to look up until his wide neck comes into view. She's like, I don't want to pry, but I'm curious. So it's like, what do you mean? Like, you're just looking at him. What are you curious about?
And then she's like, so are the rumors true? And he already confirmed it earlier. He's like, yes. And she's like, but how? And that's the question we all want to know. And then here comes the author. Here's your chance to give the backstory. It happened a long time ago, but that's a story for another time.
Yeah, it's like, no, now would be great because I've never seen a monster before.
Literally, the note I have on that paragraph is, this seems like a story for now.
Yeah,
you think you
did just take this job.
Avoiding the plot holes at all cost is what the author is doing.
It's like you just accepted a job offer at a company, and then they're like, and then you go in to meet the CEO, and it's a giant spider, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I should have taken this job. Like this kind of changes things a little bit. And she's like, see, this is a recently hired employee. She goes, you're beautiful. I whisper, reaching out to his, like, she's like reaching towards him. She's like,
yeah, already now crossing the borderline between coworkers. Like, I want you tomorrow or whenever you go in the office next, just walk up to your boss and then just be like, oh my God, grab his face. You're beautiful. See how fast you get kicked out of that job.
And then it continues because then his hand wraps around her spine and he's holding it gently and his skin
must crush spine.
His skin is as smooth as silk.
It says, I won't hurt you. It's like, no, didn't know that was on the
Celeste. He's like a monster voice.
Like the Goonies monster. Yeah. It's like, I wasn't even thinking of that as an option. But now it's just a weird conversation of being like, oh, well, yeah, it turns out my boss is a 7-foot-tall monster. He just grabbed my spine and said, I won't hurt you.
I'm not going to hurt you.
It's like the Iron Giant.
And then
accidentally crushes a house.
So I guess they walk back into the office. He's wearing his tailored suit with
signature look, a stylish fedora hat, perched on his. No fedora is stylish. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
We found out her preference though.
Also,
if you go to a book signing, please wear a fedora and stilts.
So this must be some days later because
it has to be.
Yeah. Because then he's like,
but it would be nice to say a couple days later. Yeah. The office door swings open. That's. Five words would have changed our guessing game here because to me this blended all in together.
If it wasn't a few days later and he just goes, so how are you enjoying your job so far? It's like
all 12 minutes of it.
Pretty weird.
Yeah, was it weird when we touched faces and I grabbed your spine? I'm super sorry about that.
So he's like, how are you enjoying the job? She's like, I'm definitely busy. I've digitized the files and archived the paper files in boxes, which is strange because it's like, how many files does he have to possibly have a lot of
FBI
digitized
cases is he working? Yeah, and
also, do the FBI folks keep a lot of paper trails on their highly classified cases? I'm wondering.
I don't know, but it's like, yeah, I mean, it sounds like she just organized all the filing systems. But again, to your point, yeah, like.
He's like, it's been 3 months. That's all you've done? No.
How long has he been a PI? How many files are there? And like for the cases he's closed, like I don't know. Yeah, and he's just like, well, I meant to do it. Like, okay, well, we get it.
I was gonna
you hired her for this. Like, don't try to play it off.
Yeah, she's like, I got it under control. What do you think about the new organizing system? And he looks over at the sleek whiteboard. And he goes, it's an improvement. It's like, what do you mean? An organizing system? It's just a whiteboard, right? Like, I don't understand.
Well, I guess it's just like maps out where the files are, but his like praise is like, yeah, it's okay. It's better than it was, but it's not perfect.
It's fine. Yeah. On the whiteboard, it just says some files, and it points an arrow to the computer. Yeah. It says other files, and it points to the cabinet. She's like, What do you think? He's like, God.
It's either that or she wrote down every single file name on the whiteboard and was like, "Is this what you wanted?"
He sits down
and then
at his
he
desk.
sits down, and I don't
Yeah.
like this line. The supple
No.
leather molds to his form as he adjusts his posture. Supple leather.
Yeah, I don't love the word supple should not really be used.
Also,
in
it has to
literature.
be a huge chair.
And I like how she says, I have more ideas I want you to talk to you about, which is like, so your first idea was just organization, I guess? That was your first idea? And he's like, as long as you don't hide the coffee or cookies, we'll get along fine. And she's like, well, I was going to suggest switching them out with kale smoothies for healthier working environment. Which makes me wonder, so these monsters, I guess so far, what we know is like, the only real difference between him and like a regular human is he's a little bit tall, and he's got a lot of muscles.
Yes.
But he doesn't have special dietary restrictions.
Nope. He
so-
apparently likes coffee and cookies, keeps them around the office just haphazardly.
So like,
Um,
what makes him a monster? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, what's his transformation? Because like, if he takes off the brace, in my mind, when I think of like him turning into a Titan, like he has to grow to like 20 feet tall, right? Or like turn into the Hulk.
Yeah, it must
Like
be something.
that's like the only thing. But
Yeah.
he's just talking about. He's like, this thing keeps me in check. Otherwise, who knows? I grow an extra inch, or my muscles get even bigger.
Yeah. And she's like, let me know if you need anything else. And I can do it after hours. And he's like, why would you do that? And she's like, I'm new in town. I haven't made friends yet. I work for a monster. She's like, I
My
have
brother's
extra
got
time
this
on
big
my hands.
motocross show.
Yeah.
And then he's like, do you come from a big family? And she goes, how am I supposed to answer that? It's like,
just answer
you
it.
just answer it.
Yeah.
Because like, it's not true, but I suppose you say it could be true. And it was like, when in my mind, she's like, well, the circus is my family, but I do have a brother and I had two parents, but they're dead now. So it's not a big family. I have one sibling.
Yeah, they used to
No,
be big.
that's
Now
it. There you
most of my
go.
family's dead. She's like, he's like, oh, what were you raised in a cult? And she could have easily, been like, oh, actually, I grew up in the circus, grew up around a lot of people. But instead, she's like, I'm certainly not used to being alone. He's like, when I interviewed you, you said you were fine working alone, which is like,
Yeah,
well, that's not the same thing. There, like working, handling your own
And being
projects and
alone.
like working
Yeah.
alone is different. And then we
It's like
randomly,
he's like, well, if you work alone, like you're not supposed to see anybody ever again. You're supposed to be alone for the rest of your life. That's what this job is.
And then we randomly get a mid-chapter POV switch with no like extra bolding or underlining or anything. It's just Atlas's point of view. It says Atlas.
See, and that's sort of how it's getting closer to how I think it should be in terms of like it's an actual conversation. You can peer into the heads of both of them.
Right.
But it's so abrupt because we're so used to the breaks that for a minute, like as I was reading, I was just like, why is she?
Yeah.
She's narrating herself now. It's just weird.
Let's see. She
With
reaches.
effortless grace, she approached the whiteboard.
Yeah.
She walked 4 steps.
I like this. I like
She
this.
do a
'Cause
backflip.
here's what I love. So they have a whiteboard, right? A whiteboard can be
Writes the days
a
and, the
whiteboard.
days and the weeks perfectly. No spelling errors. It's just Monday with 4 Ds.
She knew all 7 days of the week.
She could count the days of the week and spelled them and wrote them, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I highlighted that because I was
they
like,
have
what?
a whiteboard, and whiteboards are traditionally utilized for a lot of different things, obviously. But
I have one in the basement. I
couldn't
write down
they-
work stuff on there.
couldn't they get like a calendar for this? So she goes to this big whiteboard and she divides it into rows and writes the dates and days of the week perfectly. So
It's like, does he have meetings? I mean, what are they putting on the calendar other than like eat cookies, meet on this day with this guy? Like it's a receptionist, but it's like he doesn't have. Like,
we haven't seen him do any
he
work
cannot-
yet.
He can't have that many meetings where like you have to lay it out on a whiteboard, and if you did, use Excel. She's like, I digitized all your
Yeah,
files.
she just
Everything's
digitized
online
all this
now.
stuff, yeah.
But we're gonna use the whiteboard for the big calendar stuff because
Yeah.
you're a big guy and you need to see it.
And then she turns to him, she says, so what do you have planned for the week?
Aren't you supposed to know that? That's your job as the receptionist. I can't handle this. She wrote this. She doesn't know fantasy, doesn't know world building. doesn't
office
understand
jobs.
office stuff. Stick to what you know, all right? I don't care what you write about, but now it's just there's so many holes.
So she's like, so what do you have planned for the week? He's like, well, I'm working on an ongoing investigation. She's like, great. Where do you need me to go? What type of equipment do you need? I'll make a checklist. And then he goes, why am I attracted and irritated by her simultaneously? It's like, okay,
So weird.
she's just trying to
Not
help
a good
you.
thought to have a coworker. And then he's just like, he goes back into his specialty again. He's like, I don't need special equipment. He said, my specialty is forensic accounting, combing through databases and personal networks to gather information, and I use my police connections.
Oh.
So he looks at Excel sheets and then calls the police and is like, hey, can you help me out? Can you help me?
Because he can't be a policeman because he's a monster. They wouldn't let him in. Even though you'd think they wouldn't mind having like a monster.
Are you kidding me? What would be better for crowd control than being like, yeah, sure. Hey, Atlas, you want to go handle the mob of 400 people? Here, let me get your brace, and then just slap him in the face. And
I know you're extremely strong, you're personable, good looking, all that stuff, but like, I just don't think there's a place for you on this force. It's like, what? What do you mean?
The big problem is we can't fit you into the squad cars.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Personal vehicle.
So he says these things, and then she jots it down. Which is like, why are you jotting down
on the notepad, not the whiteboard? On the notepad, not the whiteboard, which she set up specifically for the conversation.
Also, he's just describing what his job is. She's like, okay, so that's your job. Okay, got
it. I don't know. We don't know how many days it's been since she's been on the job.
What are you going to use that? What are you going to use that note for? You're going to be like, what does my boss do again? Oh yeah, okay, that's what he does.
It's insane. And so she's writing it down, and then he takes that moment to be like, God, she's curvy.
Yeah.
It has a good personality, and that's it. That's all you need to know about that.
She's like, that's all for now, he mutters, and she's like, Atlas, I'm just here to lighten the load and make your life easy, because again, you've had this position open 4 months, you clearly want to hire somebody, I'm here now to help you out. And she's like, I'm just trying to help you out. And he's like, easy? Sharing the office with her is anything but easy. Although I'm trying to act standoffish and indifferent to her charms, I'm completely mesmerized. She's all I can think about, which is starting to get a little dangerous here, because again, this is an employee you just hired. She's new in town. She's trying to move up in her career, and now you're already self-admitting to yourself. You're like, oh yeah,
it's going to be a problem.
She's all I think about.
She can spell the days of the weeks, and I can't tell you how attractive that is in a human being. It's insanity. Absolute insanity.
What a start for this book.
I could stand up on a podium and tear this book to pieces chapter by chapter, and it would be the best day of my life. It is so full of plot holes. It's just delicious.
It's the best. And I'm very excited because I have not read ahead yet, so I am very excited to see where it goes. We'll be doing chapters 4 through 6 next time.
Yeah.
And then